What if the only person who could hear a scream was the one person brave enough to listen? Amelia was just a waitress, invisible to the billionaires she served, struggling to pay off debts that felt like a concrete wall. Lily Sterling was the daughter of the richest man in the city, but she was just as invisible. She was the mute child, the broken toy everyone at the table ignored. But Amelia saw what they refused to. The girl wasn't just silent. She was screaming for help. In a world of cold cash and cruel whispers, one poor waitress was about to risk everything to understand a language no one else would, uncovering a secret that could destroy them all. The Celestial Club was a universe of its own, suspended 50 floors above the smog and struggle of the city. Its windows were vast, clear plates that turned the skyline into a glittering tapestry for the diners. Amelia knew every thread of that tapestry. She also knew the precise, suffocating weight of the silence that filled the room. It was a silence bought and paid for, a silence that cost more than her yearly salary. She adjusted the crisp white apron over her black uniform, her reflection a fleeting ghost in the polished mahogany bar. She was just another moving part in the clockwork of luxury, efficient and, most importantly, invisible. Her feet ached. It was a dull, familiar throb that started in her heels and worked its way up her spine. This was her second double shift this week, a necessity to keep the collection notices from turning into eviction notices. Her younger brother, Leo, had left her with more than just memories. He'd left her with a mountain of medical debt, but he had also left her a gift, a language of the hands, a way of speaking in silence. It was a gift she hadn't used in years, not since he passed. "Station 3, Amelia. The Sterlings," Mr. Henderson, the club's manager, hissed as she passed. His voice was as starched as his shirt. "And be sharp. No mistakes. Not tonight." Amelia nodded, her expression professionally blank. The Sterlings. Everyone knew them. Marcus Sterling was a titan of industry, a man whose face was carved from granite and whose eyes missed nothing. His net worth was a subject of constant, breathless speculation in the financial papers. Beside him, always, was his new wife, Isabella. Isabella Sterling was beautiful, but it was the beauty of a perfectly cut diamond, flawless, brilliant, and lethally sharp. She wore a dress the color of fresh blood, and her laughter, when it came, was a high, tinkling sound that never quite reached her eyes. And between them, there was Lily. Lily Sterling was 6 years old. She was a porcelain doll with wide, dark eyes and hair the color of spun gold. She was also, as the staff memos and city gossip columns constantly reminded everyone, the mute daughter. She sat at the massive table in a chair that seemed too large for her, a tiny void in the center of the orbit of power her parents created. Amelia watched from a distance as the family was seated. The other servers, seasoned veterans, moved with practiced ease. They poured water for Marcus. They smiled and fawned over Isabella, complimenting her necklace. They completely, utterly, and deliberately ignored the child. They didn't just ignore her, they served around her. A busboy placed a heavy silver bread basket on the table, reaching over Lily's shoulder as if she were a piece of inconveniently placed furniture. Lily flinched, pulling her small body inward. But no one noticed. Isabella was busy detailing a complaint about the temperature of her champagne to the sommelier. Marcus was on his phone, his thumb swiping decisively through columns of data. Amelia felt a familiar, cold knot tighten in her stomach. It was the same feeling she used to get watching the other kids in the playground move their games away from Leo as if his silence were a disease they could catch. Isabella turned to her husband. "Marcus, darling, put that away. We're celebrating." "One moment, Isabella. The Tokyo market is Tokyo, she finished, placing a manicured hand on his. We are here. And Lily, she said, her voice dropping, is having one of her difficult days. She hasn't made a sound. The therapists are frankly useless. She spoke as if Lily were not present, as if the child were deaf as well as mute. Amlia's station was close enough to hear, but far enough to remain unseen. She busied herself polishing silverware that was already immaculate, her eyes fixed on the small girl. Lily's hands were twisting in her lap, her small fingers knotting and unknotting the linen napkin. The first course arrived, a complex, delicate tower of seafood. Isabella's was presented with a flourish. Marcus's was set down with a respectful nod. Lily's plate was simply placed. The server, a man named Gregory, didn't even make eye contact with her. Lily stared at the food. She picked up the heavy, ornate fork, but her small hand struggled with its weight. She tried to spear a piece of shrimp, but it skidded off the plate and onto the pristine white tablecloth. A tiny clink as the silver hit the table. Isabella sighed, a sound of profound, theatrical martyrdom. Oh, for heaven's sake. Lily, honestly. Marcus looked up from his phone, his brow furrowed in annoyance. Not at his wife, but at the interruption. Gregory, clean that. Gregory rushed forward, his face a mask of pale efficiency. He swept up the shrimp and the fork, daubed at the sauce spot on the cloth, and vanished. He did not bring a new fork. He did not look at Lily. Lily's face crumpled. Her lower lip trembled. She looked at her plate, then at her father, then at her stepmother. Both had returned to their own worlds. Isabella was laughing at something the sommelier whispered. Marcus was reading his email. Lily's hands, which had been in her lap, rose slightly. Her right hand, fingers splayed, tapped her chin. Then her fingers clustered together, and she tapped her chest. Water. Please. It was rudimentary. It was the gesture of a child. But it was sign. It was a word. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. Her tray of polished glasses suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. She saw it. She saw the word. Gregory, returning with a new napkin for Isabella, glanced at Lily's frantic, tiny gesture and looked away, his face blank. He hadn't understood, or worse, he had been trained not to. Lily's hands dropped, her shoulders slumped. A single silent tear tracked down her cheek, landing on the plate she couldn't eat. Amelia couldn't breathe. This wasn't ignorance. This was erasure. They were pretending this child did not exist. Mr. Henderson's voice echoed in her head. Do not engage. No mistakes. This was the Sterling table. Engaging was the biggest mistake she could make. It would cost her the job she desperately needed. But then she saw her brother's face, small and frustrated, his own hands forming the same word. Water. The floorboards of the Celestial Club suddenly felt unsteady. The ache in her feet was gone, replaced by a surge of white-hot adrenaline. She looked at Henderson, who was across the room, his back to her. She looked at Isabella, who was admiring her own diamond ring. She looked at Marcus, lost in the blue light of his phone. And she moved. She put her tray down on a nearby service station. She walked the 10 steps to the Sterling table, her heart a drum against her ribs. She ignored the invisible, shimmering wall that surrounded them. She stopped not at Marcus's side, nor at Isabella's. She knelt. She knelt on the plush, expensive carpet until her eyes were level with the small, weeping girl. The chatter at the table ceased instantly. She could feel the sudden, icy glare from Isabella and the confused, sharp look from Marcus. She ignored them. She looked only at Lily. Lily stared at her, her eyes wide with shock, the tear still wet on her cheek. Amelia lifted her hand. Slowly, clearly, she formed the sign. Her thumb touched her chin, her 3 middle fingers extended. The sign for water. Then she signed, "My name is Amelia. Are you okay?" The silence that fell over the table was no longer the expensive, comfortable hush of the Celestial Club. It was a vacuum. It was the sudden, sharp intake of breath before a lightning strike. Amelia could feel the temperature drop. She could feel Isabella's stare like 2 chips of ice on the back of her neck. Lily's eyes widened until they seemed to consume her whole face. The small, rhythmic trembling in her hands stopped. She stared at Amelia's hands as if they were performing magic, as if Amelia had just pulled a live dove from thin air. "Are you okay?" Amelia signed again, her movements gentle, deliberate. Lily's gaze darted from Amelia to Isabella, a quick, terrified flicker. She saw the fury gathering in her stepmother's perfect face. She saw her father finally lower his phone, his expression one of pure, blank confusion. Lily looked back at Amelia. Slowly, hesitantly, her own small hand came up. Her fingers were clumsy, as if she hadn't been allowed to use them this way in a long time. She signed back, her movement small. "I spilled. Sorry." Amelia gave her a small, genuine smile. It was the first real smile she'd given all night. "It's okay," she signed, her heart aching. "Accidents happen. Do you want more water? And a new fork?" Lily nodded, a sudden jerking motion. A tiny, fragile spark of hope lit her eyes. "What?" Isabella's voice sliced through the moment. "Do you think you are doing?" Amelia rose slowly to her full height. She turned to face the table, her professionalism a shield. "I apologize for the intrusion, Mrs. Sterling. The Miss Lily she dropped her fork. I was offering assistance." "Assistance?" Isabella's voice was dangerously smooth. "That's what you call that gesturing? It was a party trick. Lily doesn't do that. We have therapists, very expensive therapists, who are trying to break her of that awful habit." Amelia's spine stiffened. "Mum, with respect, that wasn't a habit. That was American Sign Language. She was asking for water." The words landed on the table with a thud. Marcus Sterling finally spoke. His voice was a low, powerful rumble that vibrated with authority. "You, the waitress." He wasn't looking at his wife. He was looking at Amelia, his gaze intense, analytical, as if she were a line of code he couldn't pass. "You understood her?" "Yes, sir." "Mr. Sterling, I am fluent," Amelia said, her voice steady despite the hammer in her chest. "Fluent," he repeated. He looked at his daughter, who was now watching Amelia with a kind of desperate, silent adoration. He looked at his wife, whose smile was now a tight, red slash. "No one told me she was saying anything. They said it was just twitching." "It's not twitching, Marcus. Don't be absurd," Isabella snapped, recovering. "It's a regressive behavior. Her doctors agree. We are trying to encourage verbalization. Indulging this," she waved a dismissive hand at Amelia, "is counterproductive. It's disruptive. Henderson!" She raised her voice, scanning the room for the manager. "No," Marcus said. The word was quiet, but it stopped Isabella cold. He turned his full attention back to Amelia. The force of his focus was staggering. It was the kind of attention that built and dismantled empires. "How do you know this language?" "I'm my younger brother, sir." He was non-verbal. "We grew up signing." Amelia swallowed, the memory of Leo a sudden, sharp pain. "It was our language." "Your brother," Marcus said. He wasn't asking. He was filing the information. He looked at Lily again, who had edged her chair slightly, almost imperceptibly, closer to the spot where Amelia stood. Mr. Henderson was now hurrying over, his face pale with panic. "Mr. Sterling, Mrs. Sterling, is there a problem with the service? I am so sorry." Amelia, what are you? This waitress, Marcus said, cutting Henderson off, is the first person who has had an intelligent conversation with my daughter in a year. The statement hung in the air. Isabella's face went white with fury. Henderson looked like he might faint. Marcus, that is not true, Isabella protested. I talk to her every day. She simply refuses to answer. She is being stubborn. She answered me, Marcus said, his voice hard. He looked at Amelia. What is your name? Amelia. Amelia Hayes, sir. Amelia Hayes. He pulled a sleek black wallet from his jacket, extracted a business card, and laid it on the table. You're fired. Amelia's stomach plummeted. Fired? Of course. She had broken the cardinal rule. She had engaged. She had seen the invisible child. The room tilted. The notices, the eviction, her future. You're fired from this restaurant, Marcus Sterling continued, his eyes unblinking. As of tomorrow morning, you work for me. You will be Lily's private companion. You will be at my house at 8 a.m. You will sign with her, talk with her, whatever it is you do. Your salary is 5 times whatever you make here. Non-negotiable. Amelia stared at the card. It was a bluff. It had to be. Marcus! Isabella's voice was a shriek. She quickly pitched it lower, but the venom was there. Darling, you can't be serious. We can't just hire the help. She's a waitress. We have specialists. Your specialists are failing, Marcus said, his tone final. He didn't look at his wife again. He looked at Amelia. 8 a.m. My driver will be at this club service entrance to pick you up. Do not be late. He then, for the first time that night, turned to his daughter. Lily. Lily looked at him, her eyes still fixed on Amelia. Marcus pointed a thick finger from Amelia to Lily. She stays with you. Lily's face, which had been so pale and strained, broke into a slow, dazzling smile. It was a smile that lit up the entire, cold, magnificent room. Amelia's mind was spinning. Fired, hired, 5 times her salary. It was a lifeline. It was a fantasy. It was terrifying. Yes, sir, Amelia said, her voice barely a whisper. She picked up the business card. The cardstock was thick, the name Marcus Sterling embossed in severe black letters. Good. Marcus picked up his phone, the blue light illuminating his face. The matter concluded. Isabella stared at Amelia. It was not a look of annoyance. It was a look of pure, unadulterated hatred. It was a look that said, you have no idea what you've just done. As Amelia turned to walk away, Henderson jogging after her, sputtering apologies and questions, she looked back one last time. Lily's small hand was just above the table line. She signed quickly, 3 fingers brushing away from her chin. Thank you. Amelia, her back to the Sterlings, signed back at her own side, a hidden message. You're welcome. The Sterling mansion wasn't a house. It was a statement. It sat in the city's most exclusive, high-walled neighborhood, a fortress of white stone and dark, reflective glass. It was beautiful, but it was the beauty of a mausoleum. There was no life, no clutter, no sound. The driver, a silent man who hadn't spoken a word, led Amelia through a service entrance and into a kitchen that was larger than her entire apartment. A woman in a severe grey dress, her hair pulled into a tight bun, met her. You must be Miss Hayes. Her voice was clipped and formal. I am Mrs. Davies, the head housekeeper. Amelia is fine, please. Miss Hayes, Mrs. Davies repeated, ignoring her. Lady Isabella has left instructions. You are to be Lily's companion. Your duties are to engage her. Your quarters are in the staff wing. You will follow the household schedule. Lady Isabella has specified a few guidelines. She led Amelia through hallways of cold marble, past art that looked more like an investment than a passion. The silence of the house was absolute. Lady Isabella, Mrs. Davies continued, her voice low, believes strongly in routine. She is in charge of Lily's recovery program. She has consulted with the best therapists. They all agree that indulging the signing, as you call it, is a crutch. It prevents her from finding her voice. Your primary duty is to encourage verbalization. Encourage how? Amelia asked, a cold feeling seeping into her. By not providing an alternative. You are to speak to her normally. You are not to use the sign language unless in an absolute emergency. A fire, a medical event. Otherwise, you are to wait until she asks for what she wants, vocally. Amelia stopped dead in the hallway. Mrs. Davies, she can't. She won't, Mrs. Davies corrected, her face impassive. There is a difference. Lady Isabella is very clear on this point. If you defy her, you will be dismissed. Mr. Sterling may have hired you, Miss Hayes, but it is Lady Isabella who runs this house. She looked at Amelia, a flicker of something, pity, warning, in her eyes. Mind your step. This is not the Celestial Club. The floors here are far more slippery. She was led to the playroom. It was an enormous room with a view of a manicured, joyless garden. The toys were all educational, organized in sterile bins. There were no dolls with messy hair, no half-finished drawings, no scattered blocks. And in the center, on a small, perfect white chair, sat Lily. She was dressed in a pristine white dress, her hair brushed to a sheen. She looked up as Amelia entered, and her entire being lit up. She jumped off the chair and ran forward, her hands already moving. "Amelia! You came! You're here!" Amelia's heart broke and soared all at once. She instinctively raised her hands to sign back, but the shadow of Mrs. Davies filled the doorway. Amelia froze. She put her hands behind her back. "Hello, Lily. It's nice to see you, too." Lily's hands faltered and dropped. Her smile vanished. Confusion clouded her face. She looked at Amelia, then at Mrs. Davies, then back to Amelia. She gestured again, smaller this time. "What's wrong? Why won't you talk?" "I am talking, Lily," Amelia said, forcing a bright, brittle tone. The words felt like sandpaper in her mouth. "I'm so happy to be here. This is a beautiful room. Why don't we play with these blocks?" Lily just stared at her. The light in her eyes went out, shuttered and locked. She backed away from Amelia, her shoulders hunching. She was being betrayed. Mrs. Davies nodded, satisfied. "I'll leave you to it." She closed the door, the click of the latch sounding unnaturally loud. Amelia and Lily were alone. Amelia rushed to the door, checking the knob. It wasn't locked. She leaned against it, her heart pounding. "Lily," she whispered. Lily had retreated to the window, her back to Amelia. Amelia walked over to her. She knelt, just as she had in the restaurant. "Lily, please look at me." The small girl refused. Amelia sighed. She was going to be fired. She was definitely going to be fired. But she couldn't do this. She couldn't be another person who silenced this child. She reached out and gently touched Lily's shoulder. When the girl turned, her face stained with silent tears, Amelia raised her hands. "I am so sorry." She signed. "She the Ice Queen, she told me not to sign. She said it's bad for you." Lily's eyes widened. She signed back, her hands flying, a dam of frustration, breaking. "She's a liar! She hates it!" "She hates Lily," stopped. She looked at the door, terrified. "Hates what?" Amelia signed. "She hates when I talk to Daddy." She told me. Lily's hands trembled. She told me it makes me look broken. Amelia felt a rage so potent it made her dizzy. This wasn't therapy. This was abuse. This was systematic isolation. "Listen to me," Amelia signed, her movements sharp and certain. "You are not broken. You are a person. And this, she held up her hands, is a language. It is strong, and it is beautiful. Just like you. Lily stared at her, absorbing the words. Now, Amelia signed, a conspiratorial spark in her eye. She may be the queen of this castle, but she doesn't have eyes everywhere. When we are alone, we talk. Like this. It's our secret. Deal. A tiny, slow smile returned to Lily's face. She held out her pinky finger. Amelia locked her own pinky with it. Deal. For the next 2 hours they played. Amelia learned that Lily's favorite color was yellow, that she loved stories about dragons, and that she was terrified of storms. They drew pictures. Lily was a gifted artist. She drew the garden, the house, and a stick figure of Amelia with a giant, smiling face. Then she drew another picture. She paused, her crayon hovering. She selected a black crayon and a dark blue one. She drew a house, but it was different. It was near water, and the sky was filled with dark, scribbled clouds and jagged bolts of yellow. In the corner, she drew a small, broken shape. "What's that?" Amelia signed, pointing to the shape. "A bird," Lily signed. "A broken bird." It fell. A chill went down Amelia's spine. Before she could ask more, the playroom door swung open. Isabella Sterling stood there, her arms crossed. Her face was a mask of cold, polite fury. "Amelia, may I have a word in the hall?" She hadn't even looked at Lily. Amelia stood up, her blood turning to ice. She gave Lily a quick, reassuring look, but the girl had already shrunk into herself, her face pale. In the hall, Isabella closed the door. "What?" she hissed, her voice a low vibration of anger. "Did I specifically tell you not to do?" "I'm Mrs. Sterling. I was just trying to connect with her." She was upset. "You were indulging her. I came to check on you, and I see you through the door, flapping your hands around like a street performer." She took a step closer. "You are not her friend, Miss Hayes. You are an employee. Your job is to follow my instructions. And my instructions are to stop this. You are undermining months of my work, months of expensive specialized therapy." "But it's not working." Amelia couldn't stop the words. "She's not stubborn, she's terrified, and she's lonely. She's a child who just needs someone to talk to." "She has me," Isabella said, her eyes flashing. "She has her father. She doesn't need a waitress to come in and diagnose her. You are here to normalize her. Speaking. Not that." She pointed to the drawing in Amelia's hand, which she'd picked up without thinking. "And what is this?" More of her morbid nonsense. She's obsessed with it. Before Amelia could react, Isabella snatched the drawing from her hand. She looked at the dark, stormy sky and the broken bird. With a sound of disgust, she crumpled the paper into a tight ball. "We don't encourage these fantasies," Isabella said. She dropped the wadded-up drawing on the marble floor. "Clean that up, and from now on you will leave the playroom door open." She turned and walked away, her heels clicking an angry rhythm on the stone. Amelia stood there, shaking. She looked at the crumpled ball of paper. This wasn't about therapy. This wasn't about helping Lily. This was about control. This was about silence. She picked up the drawing and smoothed it out. The broken bird, the dark storm. A cold, dreadful feeling began to settle in her chest. She looked back at the closed playroom door, behind which a 6-year-old child was, once again, completely and utterly alone. The Sterling mansion operated on a set of unspoken rules, and Amelia learned them quickly. Rule 1. Lady Isabella was always right. Rule 2. Mr. Sterling was to be seen as little as possible. Rule 3, and the most important, Lily Sterling was a problem to be managed, not a child to be loved. Amelia's new life was a paradox. She was living in a palace, earning more money than she'd ever dreamed of. But she was a prisoner. Isabella was a vigilant warden. She left the playroom door open, as instructed. She would walk by at random intervals, her eyes sweeping the room. But Amelia and Lily were smarter. They developed a new, secret layer to their communication. They used home signs, small, subtle gestures hidden from view. A tap on the knee under the table meant, "Are you sad?" A brush of the hair behind the ear meant, "She's coming." They read books, and Amelia would sign the words against the pages, her hands hidden by the cover. Lily began to transform. In these stolen moments, she was bright, funny, and incredibly intelligent. But the second she heard Isabella's heels clicking on the marble, she would go blank. Her hands would drop to her lap. Her face would become the passive, empty mask everyone expected. Amelia's rage grew, but so did her fear. She knew she was on thin ice, but she also knew she was the only lifeline this child had. She needed an ally. She found one in the most unlikely of places. Sarah was one of the younger housemaids, a girl from a town not unlike Amelia's, with wide, nervous eyes and a constant fear of Mrs. Davies. Amelia found her crying in the staff linen closet one afternoon. It's her," Sarah sniffled, wiping her eyes on her apron. "Lady Isabella. She found a dust bunny under the console in the blue room. She said if I'm that blind, maybe I should be working in the stables." "She's awful," Amelia said, handing her a fresh tissue. "She said that to you?" "She's worse to her," Sarah whispered, her voice dropping. She glanced out into the hall, to poor little Lily. "What do you mean?" Amelia asked, her voice quiet. "I've been here since before," Sarah said. "Before her, when the first Mrs. Sterling was alive." Amelia's breath hitched. "What was she like? The first wife?" "Oh, Evelyn, she was lovely," Sarah said, a sad smile touching her lips. "She was all light, you know? She laughed all the time. And Lily, my goodness, Lily was a chatterbox. You couldn't get her to be quiet. Always singing, asking questions. She was her mother's shadow. They were everything to each other." A cold dread crept up Amelia's spine. She thought of the little girl upstairs, locked in silence. "What happened, Sarah? I know her mother died, but what happened?" Sarah's face went pale. She looked around again, terrified. "We're not supposed to talk about it. It was the accident, at the lake house, a terrible storm." Amelia thought of the drawing, the dark, scribbled clouds, the water. "A storm?" "Yes, a freak squall. Mrs. Evelyn, she fell, from the upper balcony. It was awful." "My God," Amelia whispered. "Lily, was she there?" Sarah nodded, her eyes filling with fresh tears. "She was. She was on the balcony with her. She saw it. When the staff found her, she was just huddled in the corner, soaked to the bone, staring at the spot. She hasn't spoken a single word since. The playroom, the drawing, a bird, a broken bird. It fell." "Sarah," Amelia said, grabbing the girl's arm. "Isabella, was she there? At the lake house?" Sarah looked like she was going to be sick. She was. She was Evelyn's best friend. That's what the papers said. She was staying with them for the weekend. She's the one who found Lily, who rescued her. The pieces clicked into place, forming a picture so monstrous Amelia couldn't bear to look at it. A woman dies. Her best friend marries her grieving husband a mere 6 months later. The only witness, the woman's daughter, is struck mute by the trauma. And this best friend, now the stepmother, actively, cruelly, forbids the child from communicating in the only way she has left. "She's not trying to heal her," Amelia whispered, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. She's trying to silence her. What? Sarah asked, confused. Isabella. She's not stopping the sign language because it's a crutch. She's stopping it because she's terrified of what Lily might say. Say about what? The storm? It was an accident. Sarah's voice trailed off as she saw the look on Amelia's face. Oh no. You don't think— I think, Amelia said, her voice hard, that Lily isn't mute from grief. She's mute from fear. Amelia's mission changed. This was no longer about providing comfort. This was about an excavation. She had to get Lily to tell her what she saw on that balcony. The next day, she found her chance. Marcus was in Singapore. Isabella was at a charity luncheon, scheduled to be gone for hours. For the first time, Amelia and Lily were truly alone. They sat in the garden, a small, manicured square of green. Amelia had brought the drawing, the crumpled paper she had saved and smoothed. She laid it on the grass between them. Lily, Amelia signed, her heart pounding. I need to ask you about this. The storm. The broken bird. This was at the lake house, wasn't it? Lily's face, which had been relaxed and happy, instantly tensed. She nodded, a small, jerky motion. This bird, Amelia signed, her hands shaking slightly. It fell. Was it your Lily snatched the drawing, her eyes wild with panic? She signed, No, Lily, it's okay. You are safe, Amelia signed, projecting a calm she did not feel. No one is here. Just me. Amelia, remember our secret. Lily was rocking back and forth, her breathing growing shallow. Amelia knew she was pushing, knew she was risking frightening the child back into her shell. But she had to. Lily, she said, this time speaking aloud, her voice soft but urgent. What happened to your mummy? Lily whimpered, a small, animal sound. She put her hands over her eyes. Amelia took a new approach. She sat back. I want to tell you about my brother. Leo. Lily peeked through her fingers. He was scared, too. After our dad left, he didn't talk for a whole year. People were mean. They told him to just talk. They told him he was broken. Amelia felt the familiar sting of old tears. But I knew he wasn't. He was just full of sad, full of scared. So I talked to him. She signed. I told him my secrets. I told him I was safe. And one day, he told me his. Lily lowered her hands. She watched Amelia, her gaze unwavering. I am safe, Lily, Amelia signed, her movements slow and clear. You can tell me. You can tell me what happened on the balcony. What did you see? Lily stared at the grass. Her small hands, which had been clenched into fists, slowly unclenched. They rose. They trembled, and she began to sign. We were, she signed, her fingers clumsy. Mommy. And her. The Ice Queen. Amelia's blood ran cold. Isabella. They were fighting. Lily signed. It was raining. So loud. Mummy was crying. She was yelling. What did she say? Lily signed. She said, You can't have him. She said, He's my husband, Isabella. She said, Get out of my house. Amelia's heart was a trip hammer. And what did Isabella say? Lily's face crumpled. She smiled. She said, He's not yours anymore. Nothing is. Lily. What happened next? Lily's hands were shaking so hard she could barely form the signs. Mummy tried to go inside. She turned her back, and the Ice Queen Lily formed a sign. 2 hands, open palms pushing forward. A violent, decisive motion. She pushed her. Amelia stopped breathing. She pushed Mummy. Lily signed, the tears now streaming down her face. Lily mimicked a fall. A long, terrible fall. And then Lily was sobbing, her hands frantic. She looked at me. The Ice Queen. She grabbed my face. She said, You saw nothing. She said, You will say nothing. She said, If you ever tell, I will push you, too. Amelia wrapped her arms around the small, shaking girl, pulling her close. Lily buried her face in Amelia's shirt, her body convulsing with a year's worth of silent screams. Amelia held her, her mind reeling. It wasn't an accident. It was murder, and the killer was in charge of the only witness. "What a lovely picture you two make." The voice, cold and amused, cut through the air. Amelia's head snapped up. Isabella Sterling stood on the patio, a champagne flute in her hand. She hadn't gone to the luncheon, or she had come back early. She was smiling, but her eyes were 2 chips of ice. "Such a touching scene," Isabella said, walking toward them. "Sharing secrets, are we? What juicy gossip are you two talking about?" Amelia shielded Lily, who had frozen in her arms. "We were just enjoying the sun." "Were you?" Isabella said. It wasn't a question. Her gaze dropped to the drawing of the storm, still clutched in Amelia's hand. Her smile widened, but it was a predator's smile. She knew. She didn't know what Amelia knew, but she knew the girl had talked. "Well, I'm afraid your time in the sun is over, Miss Hayes," Isabella said, her voice dropping to a businesslike chill. "Your services are no longer required. I'll have security escort you from the premises." "What? No! You can't!" Amelia scrambled to her feet, pulling Lily behind her. "Mr. Sterling hired me, and I am firing you. Mr. Sterling is indisposed. I handle all household staffing." Isabella snapped her fingers. From the side of the house, 2 large men in dark suits, the household security, emerged. "Gentlemen, please escort Miss Hayes off the property. She is trespassing." "You can't do this!" Amelia cried, her mind racing. "Proof? I have no proof. It's my word against hers. A waitress against a billionaire's wife." "No! Amelia!" Lily, seeing the men approach, did the one thing she hadn't done. She made a sound. It was a high, terrified wail, a sound of pure panic. She clung to Amelia's leg, her face buried in her skirt. "Look what you've done," Isabella said, her voice dripping with false pity. "You've agitated her. You are a disruptive influence, just as I said." "I'm not leaving her with you," Amelia yelled, her professionalism gone, replaced by pure protective instinct. "You're a monster," Isabella laughed, a short, ugly sound. "A monster? Because I'm firing an insubordinate employee. You're delusional. Richard, please, remove her." One of the guards, a large man named Richard, took Amelia's arm in a painfully tight grip. "Ma'am, please, come with us." "No, Lily, it's okay." Amelia tried to reassure the child, who was now being held back by the other guard. "Amelia, don't go," Lily was screaming, the sound rusty and raw. "She's talking," Amelia yelled at the guard. "Don't you see? She's talking. Let me go." "It's a tantrum," Isabella said, turning her back, bored. "She'll be fine once the element of disruption is removed." "Take her out." Amelia was physically dragged, her heels scraping on the stone path. She was half carried through the service entrance and deposited unceremoniously on the sidewalk outside the massive gates. The gates slid shut with a heavy, final clang. She was out, and Lily was in, with her mother's killer. Amelia sagged against the cold stone wall, her body shaking with adrenaline and fear. She was unemployed. She was penniless again, and she had just left a child in the hands of a murderer. Think, Amelia, think. She couldn't call the police. What would she say? A 6-year-old, traumatized child signed to me that her stepmother is a killer. They would laugh her out of the station. They would call the Sterlings, and Isabella would paint her as a disturbed, gold-digging ex-employee. She needed Marcus. He was the only one who could override Isabella. But he was in Singapore. She pulled out her phone, her fingers fumbling. She still had his business card. She tried his office. A polite, iron-clad secretary informed her that Mr. Sterling was incommunicado for the next 48 hours. She tried his cell. It went straight to voicemail. She sent a text, her thumbs flying. "Mr. Sterling, it's Amelia Hayes. You have to come home. Isabella is hurting Lily. She fired me. Lily is in danger." She saw what happened to Evelyn. She hit send. The message turned green. Blocked. Isabella must have already blocked her number from his phone. Amelia's blood ran cold. Isabella had thought of everything. She was alone. She had no power, no money, no access. No. She wasn't completely alone. She took a bus to a less affluent part of town. She found the back alley pub where the staff of the city's high-end homes sometimes gathered to decompress. She found Sarah, the housemaid, just getting off her shift, looking exhausted. "Amelia, what happened? They said you were fired, that you hit Lady Isabella." "What?" "No, she's lying," Amelia said, pulling Sarah to a secluded booth. "Sarah, I need your help. It's worse than we thought. Lily told me. Isabella, she pushed Evelyn from the balcony. It was murder." Sarah's face went sheet white. She crossed herself, her hand trembling. "Oh, sweet heaven. I knew it. In my heart, I knew it. That woman, she's pure evil." "She's evil and she's smart," Amelia said. "She's locked Lily down. She's fired me. Marcus is unreachable. I have no way to prove any of this. It's my word against hers." "So what do we do?" Sarah whispered, wringing her hands. We can't just let her." "You mentioned the lake house," Amelia said, her mind working, a desperate, wild plan forming. "The accident. You said, did you say anything else? Anything you remember?" "I don't know. It was just awful. The storm, the police." "Think, Sarah, was there anything unusual?" Sarah bit her lip. "There was one thing. Mrs. Davies was complaining about it. About the waste. Mr. Sterling had just had a new security system installed at the lake house. Top of the line. But the balcony cameras, they weren't working." "Not working? Why?" "The storm," Sarah said. "The technician said the high winds and the rain, it must have shorted the video feed for the outdoor cameras. All they got was static." Amelia's heart sank. "Of course. So there's no footage." "No video," Sarah said. "But Mrs. Davies was really mad because the audio feed was still live. She said it was a waste of server space, just hours and hours of wind and rain. They were going to wipe it." Amelia grabbed Sarah's arm. "Did they? Did they wipe it?" "I don't know. That was a year ago, right after he married her. She had the whole system upgraded, probably to get rid of it." "Probably," Amelia agreed. "But maybe not. Rich people, powerful people, they get sloppy. They forget to destroy the old backups. Sarah, where would they keep them? The old server backups?" "In the main house," Sarah breathed, her eyes widening. "In the security hub. It's in the basement, next to the wine cellar." "I have to get in," Amelia said. "Amelia, you can't. It's impossible. The house is a fortress. Richard and the other guard, they're ex-military. And Isabella is there. She'll be watching Lily like a hawk." "She won't be tonight," Amelia said, a sudden cold certainty settling over her. "She thinks she's won. She thinks I'm gone and Lily is silenced. She'll be relaxed. She'll be celebrating." A memory flashed in her mind. A poster she'd seen in the Celestial Club's kitchen. "The Sterling Foundation Charity Gala," Amelia said, her eyes lighting up. "What?" "The annual gala. It's tonight, at the mansion. I saw the catering orders. The house will be full of hundreds of people, staff, guests, performers. Isabella will be playing the perfect hostess. Marcus is still out of the country. She'll be the star of the show. She'll be distracted." "You're going to what? Just walk in?" Sarah asked, incredulous. Not as a guest, Amelia said, a grim smile touching her lips. As staff, I still have my uniform from the Celestial Club. They're one of the caterers. Amelia, that's insane. They'll catch you. They might, Amelia said, standing up. But I have to try. Sarah, I need you to do one thing for me. I need you to find Lily. When the party is in full swing, I need you to get her out of her room and bring her to the main hall. Can you do that? Me? Sarah squeaked. Oh no, I can't if I'm caught. Sarah, please, Amelia begged, gripping her hands. I can find the audio, but it won't be enough. They'll say I faked it. I need Lily. I need her to be there when I find the proof. I need her to be the one to give it to her father. Her father? But he's in Singapore. He is, Amelia said. But he's not the only one I'm going to find tonight. A new, even more audacious idea was forming. The press, the gala is full of them. What's the one thing Isabella is more afraid of than her husband? Bad press, public humiliation. Amelia, you're scaring me. Good, Amelia said, her voice shaking but resolute. I'm scaring myself, but I'm more scared of what happens if I do nothing. She looked at the terrified maid. Can you do it? For Lily? Sarah hesitated, then took a long, shaky breath. She nodded. For Lily. I'll try. The main hall. When? When all hell breaks loose, Amelia said. You'll know. The Sterling mansion was unrecognizable, glittering with the city's elite for the annual gala. Amelia, disguised in her old Celestial Club uniform, slipped unseen through the chaotic catering entrance. She headed straight for the basement security hub, knowing Isabella would be distracted playing hostess. The hub was locked, but she overheard two guards reveal the new code, 90221. Once they left, she punched it in and the door clicked open. The room was cold, filled with humming servers. Ignoring the live gala feeds, she found the archives. Lake House, 2024. The video files were corrupt, just as Sarah said. But there was an audio file. Her hands shook as she played it. First, just wind and rain. Then, voices, shouting. Evelyn, in my own home. Isabella, cold and vicious. He's mine now, Evelyn. You're just in the way. A scream, a thud. Amelia felt sick. She had it. Then a whimper. Lily and Isabella's hiss. You saw nothing. You will say nothing. Say a word and you'll go see Mommy. She copied the file to a USB drive and headed upstairs. The grand hall was packed. Isabella was on stage, welcoming her guests. Amelia spotted David Chen, an investigative reporter. She quickly told him what she had, and to be ready to record. Amelia then moved to the AV booth, convincing the technician it was a surprise video from Mrs. Sterling. Main projector, house audio, full blast, she ordered. As Isabella finished her speech, Amelia strode to a podium microphone. Good evening, everyone. Her voice boomed. My name is Amelia Hayes. You know Lily Sterling as the mute daughter. But she's not mute. She's been silenced. By her. She pointed at Isabella. Security! Isabella shrieked. Get her out! She's silent because she was a witness, Amelia yelled, to her mother's murder. The crowd gasped. You all claim to be Evelyn's friends. Then listen. She signaled the technician. The audio file blasted through the room. The fight, the scream, the thud, and Isabella's horrifying threat to a child. The partygoers stared, horrified, as Isabella's mask of perfection shattered. Just as the audio ended, the main doors opened. It was Sarah, holding Lily's hand. My baby! Isabella shrieked, lunging for Lily in a final desperate act. No! The voice was small, but it cut through the silence. Lily stepped forward, pointing at Isabella. You pushed Mommy, she said, her voice rusty but strong. You're a liar! Isabella froze, defeated. At that moment, Police officers pushed through the crowd, followed by a devastated Marcus Sterling, just off his plane. He had heard the recording. He saw his daughter speak. As officers took Isabella's arms, the storm had finally, completely, broken. The trial was swift. The audio recording was irrefutable. Isabella Sterling was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. The aftermath brought profound change. The cold Sterling mansion was sold. Marcus, shattered but healing, moved with Lily to a smaller, sunnier home. His focus was now singular, helping his daughter. Amelia's life was also transformed. Using a generous endowment from a grateful Marcus, she opened the Leo Hayes Center for Communication, a bright, welcoming place for non-verbal children. 6 months later, Lily, now a happy, talkative 7-year-old, ran into the center, her father following. While Lily chatted about ice cream, Marcus, his face softer and humbler, raised his hands. Slowly, he signed to Amelia. "Thank you." Amelia's anger at him had long faded, replaced by respect for the man learning his daughter's language. Lily hugged Amelia goodbye. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too, Lily Bean." Lily's eyes sparkled as she signed, "You heard me." Amelia smiled, signing back. "Always." She watched them go, the sound of Lily's laughter echoing down the hall. It was the beautiful, normal sound of a family made whole, and Amelia was finally at peace. Thank you for listening to this story. What began in the cruel silence of a high-end restaurant ended with the powerful sound of truth. Amelia and Lily prove that a voice is more than just words. It's the courage to be heard. They show us that true strength isn't about power or money, but about the bravery it takes to listen to those the world has chosen to ignore. We all have the power to listen to the silent struggles around us. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness, of truly seeing someone, can be the key that unlocks their prison. If you were moved by Amelia's and Lily's journey, please show your support by hitting that like button. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you never miss a new story. And please, share this video with someone who might need a reminder that no voice is ever truly lost. What story of courage should we tell next? Let us know in the comments below.